Good evening and welcome. Thank you for attending the regular council meeting of Monday, February 5th of 2024. Thank you to the 100 or so who attended the first Open Door event on January 25th for the release or the process of releasing our interim control measure for the protection of natural areas of interest in trees, and to the 50 or so who attended the same event on January 27th, and to the approximately 140 people who attended the public presentation and public dialogue meeting on January 31st of 2024. The written consultation period to receive your comments via the form available online is open until February 14th. As of today, already 400 or so forms have been filled. Your active and engaged participation is valued. We thank you for your participation and we continue to hear you. Your message is very clear. We will analyze your comments from the ongoing survey, and we expect to return to the drawing board. Tonight's first question period will be reserved for questions related to tonight's agenda, as not to overextend the regular council meeting intended for regular monthly decisions. If there is room in the first 15 minutes, that is the time allotted for the first question period, then we will receive other questions. During the second period, if there are many people in line to ask questions, we also ask to refrain from sharing editorial comments and to simply ask a brief question so that we may hear as many questions as possible within the allotted 30-minute period. In follow-up to a resolution adopted in December of 2023, this is Resolution R 2023-12-298, regarding the MRC's redistribution of the SQ overcharge, a letter was sent to the MRC's prefect with the 22 other municipalities in copy on January 30th of this year, asking the prefect for clarification as to the invoice Hudson received on September 5th for $519.6 thousand. This is regarding the 2022 SQ overcharge redistribution. Also, with regards to the CMQ audit, the CMQ's preliminary report was shared with Council on January 15th of 2024, providing their review and suggestions on best practices with regards to reserves and surplus management. Council will be meeting with the CMQ team on February 19th of 2024 to exchange on the findings and their preliminary report. It is expected that the final report will be available to the public in the next few weeks. With regards to this year's announcement for the Master Plan for Parks and Green Spaces, so the good news is that the call to public tender was launched on Thursday, February 1st. So you can find the call for tender on the site, the public tender site, the SEAO. Merci Marie-Jacinthe, merci à l'équipe for having gotten that ready and ready to go. The tender period will last 18 days, so approximately 3 weeks, where the closing date is Thursday, February 22nd of 2024. If there are conforming applications received, we hope to adopt a resolution for contract award to start, I believe, as soon as next month. I'm looking at Marie-Jacinthe, as long as she's nodding, we're doing well. Also, we've received a letter from the Ministry of Environment informing us that due to Hudson's performance in 2023 for separating organic waste from garbage destined for landfill, Hudson will be receiving $101,514,027. This incentive program ends next year. With regards to performance, Hudson must aim to achieve the targets set by the CMM, so this is the Greater Montreal Area. This waste management plan, also called le PMGMR, is set over 6 years. It was recently adopted, so it will run from 2023 to 2030 and is effective as of January 1st of this year. Where the present performance per person in the residential sector is 583 kilograms of waste generated per year, and where the target to be met by 2031 is 425 kilograms per person per year. So this will be obviously a project as well in terms of communication, but we should continue to aim for reducing as much of landfill as possible. We expect as well that eventually anything going to landfill, the weight rate will be calculated and charged back to municipalities. Also coming up next Saturday on February 10th of 2024 is our Shiverfest event. This year it will be held at Benson Park, and this will be from 1 p.m. until 5 p.m. Due to the weather conditions, we expect... Ah, tu veux rajouter quelque chose? Vas-y.
Je voulais ajouter qu'on va suivre la météo de près, puis qu'il y a possibilité de reporter la date si jamais on a énormément de pluie. On suit ça de près.
Très bien. So as Marie-Jacinthe just explained, we're following the weather report closely. I saw online that it's a 1-degree weather, but if it's abundant rain, the event date will be set back. So please keep close to our website and to any announcement. Again, an invitation was sent to local merchants as the town is looking for food and beverage providers. So this is for beverages, hot alcoholic beverages, food and desserts. There were 4 places available on site. The deadline for application is tomorrow, Tuesday, February 6th, and it is a first-come, first-served. Last I checked, there were 2 that were interested, but rather in having the vending site in front of their store, probably due to short-staffed issues. Also, there was an information session that was held earlier this evening. Est-ce qu'il y a des personnes qui ont été présentes à la session? T'as pas eu de... Okay. So we are evolving in our practices and rolling the commercial sector for more and more into each one of our events in preparation of these and being clear as to what it is that we are looking for and going to our local vendors before outsourcing to vendors from outside of Hudson. With regards to the evolution of bridge lane closures, there were 2 meetings organized by the Ministry of Transport this month, one on January 11th, the other on the 30th, where the ministry is beginning to roll back gratuities as the 3rd lane is back in service. So starting today, February 5th, gratuity will only remain on trains from and to the 5 train stations of the Vaudreuil-Soulanges area, and the 2-way passes will continue to be handed out at the 5 stations each day where the train is in service. However, train users must activate these 2-way passes as these will be verified. So if you don't have a validated train pass, just expect that you will receive a fine. With regards to the 3 added train departures and 3 train arrivals, these are maintained. There are presently 3 trains leaving in the weekday mornings at 6:13, 7 a.m. and 7:33 returning. There are also 3 trains returning from Monday to Friday, leaving Lucien Lallier at 4:40, 5:20 and 6:05, arriving in Hudson at 6:03, 6:43 and 7:26. I've heard also that they are looking to add a 4th train that would leave later in the morning and come back sooner in the evening, as several parents with children in daycare have informed us that the present train schedule does not make it possible for them to use the train service. Gratuity for bus services in the MRC region will remain, as does the toll gratuity heading east during peak hours on weekday mornings from 5:30 to 9:30. And of course, the ministry's work is ongoing with regards to returning to the dynamic management of the 3 lanes as rapidly as possible and aiming for dynamic management of the 5 lanes by the end of the year. With regards to progress made on committees, with regard to our decisional committee, the demolition committee will be meeting this week on Wednesday, February 7th at 6:30 here in the community center. This is for a request for demolition for 898 Main, and this will be the 4th request that we see at our table in our term. Already, there were 5 opposition letters that had been received, and the deadline for receiving opposition letters was today. So please submit these to Mrs. McKercher, who's our town clerk, who's here, and also by email to Mrs. McKercher and through the front desk at Town Hall. With regards to TPAC met on Tuesday, January 16th. I chaired the meeting as both councillors were not able to attend. Our new member, Julien Gagné, was introduced to the other members. Julien is a lovely young person who has recently moved to Hudson. He is very well spoken in both languages. He comes with a strong critical thinking skills in architectural integration. So on that date, we saw one file. This is for 20 Main that you will see this evening at item 3.1. With regards to our staff and hiring, starting in January, there were 2 people who began. One was our environment technician, Sofia Fuga, and also the assistant of the public works foreman, Youssef Belhazem. So welcome. Thank you for choosing Hudson. Starting this month, in the activities and events technician will be Laurent Bergeron-Michaud. C'est la semaine prochaine?
Laurence, c'était aujourd'hui.
C'est aujourd'hui, so bienvenue Laurence. She is starting in this building and much appreciated and much looked forward person. On the agenda this evening, you will notice that there is the hiring for maternity replacement at item 6.3. Presently, there are 6 job postings on our website. I invite you to take a look. With regards to the community pool, the summer employment opportunities are numerous, and these are on our town's website. I've done this page. Also, just to note, you'll see that this comes up in our agenda. A special meeting was held on Tuesday, January 23rd of 2024, and this was for the end of employment of a town's employee. And although the motives for this person's departure are confidential, we wish to reassure you that the reasons for this person's departure are not related to fraud, embezzlement, or the mismanagement of public money. With regards to advisory committees, no laughing, Doug. I know it's an odd piece of news, I get it. So with regards to the advisory committees, the Environment Committee met this month. If Mark was here, I'm sure he would have given us an intro. I know that the new environment technician did meet with the Environment Committee, and there's great excitement as to finally for them to get moving on their mandate. The Circulation Committee, I believe, met this month, right?
Yes, we did. Yeah. The biggest issue we continue to address is the parking or the drop-off situation at Mount Pleasant. It's a work in progress. We continue to hear you and to take in all of your feedback and readjust. So far, we're seeing a lot of success. Things are calming down. It's smoother, safer. There's still a few tweaks that need to be made in terms of the pickup, but we're currently discussing a possible solution with the school. Other issues that were currently being addressed right now are the parking situation in front of Treehouse. There's some safety concerns in terms of the drop-off and the pickup for the little kids and the amount of cars that are in that small space. There's been a request for a crosswalk at Thompson Park, so we're taking a good hard look at that. And also, I would like to casually ask residents to please be mindful when you're picking up your kids, or if you're picking up your mail on Wellesley, to not use people's driveways to turn around. On Wellesley, there's an indicated roadway that will take you back out to Cameron. And if you're picking up your kids and you're parking on Upper McNaughton, please just be mindful that those are those are parking spots for residents, not to be parked in, and also just be mindful, try not to use them too much when you're turning around on the street. That's basically it for this month.
Excellent. Anything to add, Benoit? Nope. No. So both Benoit and Reid are the councillors who sit on that committee. With regards to the seniors committee, Benoit, did you have?
We are meeting every month. We are starting to plan our this coming year. We will prepare a document for council for last year, to summarize last year. Nice. So we're making good progress. It's fun.
So I would assume that is the report for 2023,
yes.
And it will be tabled and available
yes.
to the public. This is also part of the standard process for any program that is partially funded by the government. Merci, Benoit. The Cultural Policy Committee will meet on February 13th of 2024. This will be the 4th meeting. So we'll have more to share at the next meeting. With regards to regular meetings with the mayor, these are held once a month. So the next one is this coming Saturday, February 10th, at Halcrow Cottage. So this is 539 Main, in front of the the fire station. And these take place between 10 a.m. and noon. I ask that you come at the start, makes it easier. I will individually serve you coffees that are made in a sort of K-cup kind of, anyway, it just takes a little bit of time. I'll bring donuts as I usually do from Furley's. I expect this will be a very busy one. Just know that the room holds approximately 20 people. That means 8 people sitting, maybe 10 people sitting, and the rest will be standing. I don't think we have, this space is usually booked. But if there were several of you who were planning on attending, perhaps let me know and I could reschedule or relocate, because otherwise you'll be standing up, or it may be partially outside, or come well dressed. How's that? It should be 1 degree and hopefully not raining too hard. But you're welcome to come. Finally, meetings with the districts. Benoit Blais held his district meeting on Thursday last week.
It was interesting. We had about a dozen people. So we had a nice talk for like 3 hours, and we addressed the Mount Pleasant issue, and we also addressed Como Garden, Main Road walking problem, and stuff like that. So it was really nice to see the people and talk to them.
That's great. Thank you. And Reed is looking to organize one soon. I think 2 dates were offered, so...
Yeah, it should be this month. I just have to figure out which one works best.
So you just...
To be determined.
Exactly. Keep your eyes out on the town's website and also through our communications. With regards to tonight's agenda, I expect that there will be a proposal to remove item 3.2 from the agenda and hopefully bring it back eventually as we need to continue exchange on these. As I have a conflict of interest, and as does Peter have a conflict of interest on this item, you will see ourselves remove ourselves from the table when this item is brought up. Also, I will be recusing myself from item 7.2. This is the grant to the Vaudreuil-Soulanges Palliative Care Home Foundation for this year. I have been on the board of directors of the palliative care home since 2019, so anytime there is any topic, especially subsidies, I have the habit of removing myself. During the presentation of these resolutions, our Pro-Mayor, Reed Thompson, will be chairing the meeting. So that's it. Moving on to then our agenda. I would like to inform the people in the room that the council meetings is being filmed, so just keep that in mind when you come to the microphone to ask your questions. If you'd rather not be filmed, then there are other ways to reach us, but just so that you know. So with regards to item 1.1, adoption of the agenda.
I would like to propose to modify the agenda to withdraw item 3.2, 468 to 470 main exemption for parking.
So Peter and I will remove ourselves from the table.
So this motion is to modify the existing agenda to remove item 3.2. I would need a off conseil, s'il vous plaît.
Alors, 1.1, amendement de l'ordre du jour. Alors, la présente résolution vise à amender l'ordre du jour de la séance du 5 février 2024 afin d'effectuer la modification suivante, soit le retrait du point 3.2, 468-470 main, demande d'exemption pour du stationnement.
I will need a mover, please. Benoit Blais, seconded by Darren Legault. Thank you. Anyone opposed to this motion, please raise your hand. There are none. It carries unanimously, and let the record show that Mayor Hutchison returns to the table, as does Councillor Peter May.
Thank you.
Mrs. Mayor, what's the head count online?
Longer than the list. 24, but there's probably one person that is them and one person that is us. So 22 online and in the room. Have you counted?
20.
So approximately 20. That's good.
More than that.
You think there's more? They will count and I'll update when we
And on
get
that side.
All right, so 1.2, adoption of the modified agenda, I guess, that the agenda, this resolution is that the agenda for the regular council meeting as amended be adopted. So I will need, ça c'est déjà fait ou c'est pas fait? Vous en avez besoin 2 fois, la modification et l'adoption?
Oui, non.
Juste une fois? OK, c'est bon. So we are moving to section 2, confirmation of minutes. Item 2.1, confirmation of the January 2024 meeting minutes.
Pardon, mais pour l'adoption de l'ordre du jour tel qu'amendé,
C'était
Oui, c'est ça.
It was Benoit
et
Darren.
Darren.
Dans le fond, c'est ça
Non,
la
mais ça
question. Est-ce qu'on a besoin de 2 résolutions?
Oui, oui, on a...
Ah, c'est
pardon,
ça, c'était ça.
pardon, excusez, j'avais
On
pas
s'était
saisi.
pas
Je
compris.
pensais qu'on était rendu au procès.
Est-ce que moi j'ai le droit de faire l'agenda modifié?
Oui,
Oui,
oui, parce
parfait.
qu'on l'a...
Je continue l'adoption.
Oui, pardon, pardon.
C'est bon.
Là, pour
We're coming back to item 1.2, adoption of the agenda is modified. So this resolution is that the agenda of the regular council meeting of February 5th, 2024 is hereby adopted as amended. I will need a mover and a seconder. So to my right, Benoit Blais, to my left, Reed Thompson, en français.
Alors, 1.2, adoption de l'ordre du jour. Il est proposé par Benoit Blais, appuyé de Reed Thompson, que l'ordre du jour de la présente séance ordinaire du Conseil du 5 février 2024 soit adopté tel qu'amendé.
Merci. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Darren, you're so far away. Okay. Section 2, confirmation of minutes. Item 2.1, confirmation of the January 2024 meeting minutes. There were 2 of them. This resolution is that the minutes of the council meeting held on January 10th of 2024 be and is hereby approved as submitted, and that the minutes of the council special meeting held on January 23rd of 2024 be and is hereby approved as submitted. En français.
Point 2, approbation des procès-verbaux. 2.1, adoption des procès-verbaux de janvier 2024. La présente résolution vise à adopter le procès-verbal de la séance ordinaire du 10 janvier 2024, qui soit approuvé par les présents tel que soumis, ainsi que le procès-verbal de la séance extraordinaire du 23 janvier 2024 soit approuvé par les présents tel que soumis.
Merci. Are there any objections to this? Do I have a proposer? No.
No.
Okay.
No.
Proposer. Darren Legault and seconded by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Bit of nerves, so here we go. First question period. I will alternate. Just remember, 15 minutes. Typically, in the bylaw, it states 3 minutes per person. Considering the quantity of people in the room, the people online, if there's anyone in the room that is here for items that are on the agenda and not the RCI, I propose that you come forward first, so that we can give you priority. Otherwise, I expect that the rest of the questions will be pertaining to the RCI. And I will alternate between room and computer, and we are aiming for 15 minutes, and Reed is going to keep track. So if it's 3 minutes per person, it's 5 people. So the shorter you can make your questions, the more people will be able to pass. So anyone online, please raise your hand so that we can alternate back and forth. Otherwise, Jim, please go ahead.
Yes, Jim Duff, 127 Charleswood.
Wait.
Is everything
Bon.
okay with the sound?
Je pense que
Ça va?
c'est correct maintenant? Oui?
Oui.
Bon, je peux continuer. Are we to understand from item 5.1 on the agenda that the town will be or is looking for a new treasurer?
Correct.
How does, now this I don't understand, how you're proposing to fill the gap with interim people. Have you already gone to a recruiter or recruiting agency? How do you propose to deal with this?
So the, how do you call that? The posting for the job is already on the town's website. There are already efforts being made through the Marie-Jacinthe's network, Martin Aude's network, and other people's. So we're actively looking, and in the interim, Marie-Jacinthe will serve as the bridge.
And that's what 5.1 is about, to shuffle that around.
Correct.
Are
for
there
the
any
bridge.
others?
Yeah.
Will that affect any other staff changes or any other changes that you foresee?
That is the only change. I believe because we have Madame McCurcher as interim clerk, that Marie-Jacinthe is being named as a backup to Mrs. McCurcher in case she can't be there for a meeting or a day or something. I think it's just extra backup.
And avec Madame Junot, is she still there?
She's still there. Madame
Yes,
Hinault?
sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll wait for the rest of it in 5.1.
I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you, Jim. Are there questions online? Please go ahead. Steve Farrell.
Hi, good evening, Steve Farrell.
How are you?
Butternut. With respect to the interim treasurer, so is there an interim treasurer already in that position now?
This person is away on sick leave, extended sick leave. The interim
there's
treasurer.
no treasurer, period.
So right now, our interim treasurer is acting, our director general is acting as interim.
Okay, what financial background does the interim treasurer have and her skill set and experience?
Est-ce que tu souhaites?
I'd like you to answer that, please.
I know that she, from what I have seen in her managing of our files, she has a keen eye and keen understanding on our numbers. Is she a professional in accounting? No, not at this time.
Okay, no, it's just you feel that she's competent enough to carry during the interim period?
I do, and I
Sufficiently.
don't think
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Thank you.
With respect to the comment from Councillor Benoit Blais and the MADA, I guess, committee,
Correct.
there will be a report with respect to the 2023 activities and more specifically with the government grants given to the city with
I think
seniors
those are
program.
two separate, si je me trompe pas. There's the activity of MADA, which, as you know, we have a seniors policy with an action plan that comes with it. So this is reporting on the progress of this action plan, whereas the grant that you're speaking about is a separate program, and I don't know if the report will be, if there will be a second.
We're not, MADA doesn't see that.
Okay, so those are two separate entities.
But Councillor Blais did mention with respect to federal grants given for seniors.
No, I mentioned that, and it's federal grants that are tied to the program, to the MADA program. If you remember, there was a matching subsidy, j'y vais de mémoire, là, but when we started last term, and even in the Prévost administration, the government gives grants to support the town in getting the policy in place and hired someone to help them with that process. So in
Right.
order to become certified, then there is a whole accountability that goes back to the government.
So the spot is part of the MADA committee.
Only in terms of the actions, but not in terms of the fund. It's a completely different fund.
But the funds are federally sourced.
Correct, but the
Under a
report we're
subsidy.
speaking about is really with regards to the
Okay,
seniors
then
policy.
let me be very specific then. Will there be an accounting for
It's a good question.
the spot federal subsidy that was given, which
I
ends on
expect
March
that there
31st
is.
and must be reported back to the federal government based on the budget that was proposed and accepted?
J'ai pas les dates, mais normalement, oui, le gouvernement exige une reddition de compte.
Oui,
Fait que
so
normalement,
for a
oui.
subsidy, any subsidies that the town gives, that the government gives usually ask for accountability.
Yeah.
Does the town usually share that openly? Not necessarily.
I don't know.
Je pense pas qu'il y aurait un
Does
problème
it?
à le partager
Maybe
si
not.
on le dépose.
Mais le budget est suivi, oui, à l'interne à la
Oui.
ville. Là, oui.
So will that be publicly available once it's completed at March 31st?
Pour 2023, pour la soumission, c'est pas une soumission, c'est pour la subvention.
La subvention
Pour
2023.
Horizon
Ah,
2023.
Nouveaux horizons.
Oui,
Je vais devoir vérifier.
parfait.
J'ai pas l'information.
So it will be accessible then to the public?
She will validate and verify, but in theory, yes.
Good. Okay. Will that be a verbal confirmation at your next council meeting, or would you like to send me an email?
I don't know if they're ready with the information.
Oh, no, because
we'll send you-
the subsidy goes to March 31st. I'm not asking for it now.
Right.
But the subsidy goes to March 31st, so I would expect sometime in April, early May. But I'm just asking, will that be verbal, or
Après.
will you send me an email with the details? I'd like to see it.
Very good.
Good. Thank you. That's it.
You're welcome. There are still no questions online, as far as I can tell. Marcus Owen.
Marcus Owen, Birch Hill, concerning items 8.1, 8.2. Assumption on my part that 8.1, the hydrovac services, that is for cleaning out drains. Is it vacuuming out drains? Correct?
Correct.
So it's 8.2, which is the street cleaning, which I see as a renewal of contract. And some of you might remember last year, I and others had some complaints about the driving of the the dump truck and the machinery. And I'd only ask whoever's awarding the contract to remind the contractor this is not a racetrack and they should drive defensively.
Your comment has been heard. I know that that is exactly what Benoit asked for. He lives at a stop sign where often these people don't stop. So it was raised at our last meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. There's still none online. Louise Craig.
Thank you. Charles Wood.
Yes.
Thank you. It's regarding the contract award for tree inspection services. How many people do we have working at the town that do this, and how many people are we looking to hire?
Une personne. Un poste est ouvert, en fait, à inspection en environnement. Puis présentement, il y a une personne de service, j'oublie le nom au complet, SAE, là, qui assume cette tâche-là.
Fait qu'on a une personne pour la ville au complet?
Oui.
Étant donné le nouveau règlement, puis qu'est-ce qui se passe en ce moment, on est en attente. Chloe, you know this. It's 4 months plus 160 days or something with the MRC.
120 days.
As far as if somebody wants to apply for a tree permit, it has to be anything 2 inches or greater must apply for a tree permit? Is this like...
The proposed bylaw?
The proposed bylaw.
And this is related to your question.
It is related because of the tree, how many people we're going to have and how long it's going to take to get a tree permit.
No, we've heard that comment for sure at the meeting on January 31st, and absolutely we will take that into consideration in the next few weeks.
So that's going to be 4 months plus 160 days for the MRC.
It's 4 months presently for a tree cutting permit,
no,
but
that's
that
not
will
what I
be
mean.
part of our consideration.
But as far as for the 2 inches, like we can't cut a 2-inch tree tomorrow without a permit, right?
Je ne sais pas si les changements... Pardon?
C'est 2 pouces, vous dites?
C'est 2 pouces, oui. Fait qu'il faut avoir un permis immédiatement pour ça.
La question est par rapport aux changements qui sont dans les règlements présentement. Est-ce que tout élément, toute demande de permis, étant donné que c'est dans les règlements en changement, est-ce que ça veut dire qu'il y a un arrêt sur toutes les réceptions de ces demandes de permis, dont abattage d'arbres?
Non, pas l'arrêt, Chloé. Qu'on a besoin d'avoir un permis pour 2 pouces.
No, so as long as those bylaws are not active, that does not apply. That rule only works, I think it's for zoning and some very specific bylaws, but not for
So it's for the other part of the bylaw. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Are there any questions online? There are none? My goodness. Did we do 15 minutes?
We did 12.
One more person? All right.
Oh.
Yes, please. No, I need you at the microphone. My ears aren't very good.
Mario Lancia,
yes.
Lincolnship. To further on Louise's question.
Yes.
Am I to understand then that the law at this current moment is 4 inches?
It is what it is in the law now. And
if I were to go tomorrow and cut a 3-inch tree,
it is
there's
my
no
understanding.
Problem.
That is what I understand. You're welcome. C'est bien ça? Oui?
Selon ma compréhension, oui.
All right. All right, moving on. We've done this one. Section 3, Urban Planning and Environment. Item 3.1, so this is the one file that was reviewed by TPAC in January. Did you want to read it, or do you want me to read it?
I can read it.
Yeah,
I'll give you a break.
Thank you. I need to...
So item 3.1 is 20 Main replacement plan. So the owners of 20 Main want to demolish the existing house in order to build a new single-family construction. The demolition request to come will be subject to the demolition committee's recommendations. So a request was received for a preliminary program for the utilization of the vacant land at 20 Main. TPAC reviewed the request and was unanimous in the recommendation to approve the SPAPE. En français.
Oui, alors section 3, Urbanisme et Environnement. 3.1, 20 Main, un PIA, un plan de remplacement. Alors, les propriétaires du 20 Main désirent démolir la maison existante afin de construire une résidence unifamiliale isolée. La demande de démolition à venir est assujettie aux recommandations du comité de démolition. Une demande d'approbation en pays a été reçue pour un programme de réutilisation du sol dégagé pour le 20 Main. Et la recommandation unanime du Comité consultatif d'urbanisme est d'approuver le PIA. Donc, la présente résolution vise à approuver le PIA relatif au programme préliminaire de réutilisation du sol dégagé pour le 20 Main.
Merci. Do I have a mover? Doug Smith, and seconded by Peter Mate. Are there any objections with this resolution? Please raise your hand. There is one. It is carried by majority. We have skipped 3.2, I removed it from the agenda, so moving to item 3.3, awarding of contract for strategic support. And I think Peter is looking at me because I should have said something after 3.1. So in the deliberations over the file of 20 Main, we would like to motivate the owner to reduce the amount of asphalted surface. The laneways to this house, so this is a replacement project, are 6 meters wide. That is actually the width of Main Road. So if we can encourage you to reduce the width of your access ways and also reduce the size of your roundabout and consider to have a less impervious material on your land, that I think would go a long way, and in this way submit a new landscape plan. As this is the third time, I believe, that we've seen this project, we did not want to refuse it a third time. And from the conversations we've had with this owner, we certainly hope that we can motivate this person to resubmit the plan while they're going ahead with everything else. It wouldn't be an issue and wouldn't need to slow them down, but we think that it would greatly improve and add to their beautiful design. So that is the message. Ça va? C'était bien ça? So this is actually probably why Benoit had... C'est bien ça? Voulais-tu que... No, c'est ça? So we had quite a long conversation about this file, and I should have brought it up. I'm sorry. With regards to item 3.3, awarding of contracts, strategic support for urban planning. So this is that the town of Hudson wishes to be assisted in finding solutions for the development of residential construction projects, considering that the town wishes to be assisted by a strategic coaching process. This resolution is to award a contract to the firm of Aucun to provide assistance for the amount of $9,000 before taxes, and I'll give a little bit of preamble to this. So this is a result of 2 projects in the core on Main Road, I would say west of the SAQ. Does that make it? No, west of the IGA, that have sort of come to a roadblock. And this is one of the ways that I thought would be best for town and council and developers to be able to work together, collaborate together at co-designing and looking at what Hudson should start to look like. So we expect the TPAC, council, the developers will be involved in this process. This firm is used to doing this type of work, and the 2 people working on the file will be people of experience. One of them had been a long time urban planning director at a large municipality or city in the area. So this, I think, is a really great way to start moving forward and doing things slightly out of the box, but also looking to work with developers in redeveloping our downtown core. The aim is to move away from our rectangular brick boxes with the white cornice and start to move towards something that is more articulated, looking at perhaps stepping back volumes and creating a little bit more public space on the ground floor. So I think this is exciting. We do hope to involve more and more people in this sense, so hopefully this will generate positive results. En français.
Alors, point 3.2, c'est un point qui a été retiré de l'ordre du jour. 3.3, octroi de contrat, accompagnement stratégique, urbanisme. Alors, la Ville de Hudson désire être accompagnée dans une démarche de recherche de solutions pour le développement de projets de construction résidentielle. La Ville désire se faire accompagner dans un processus d'accompagnement stratégique. Alors, la résolution vise à octroyer un contrat d'accompagnement à la firme Enclume au montant de 9 000 $ avant taxe.
Merci. Do I have a mover? Reed Thompson, seconded by Peter Mate. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 3.4, awarding of contract for tree inspection services. Whereas the shortage of manpower and the lack of personnel within the Urban Planning Department, whereas the high number of permit applications and requests received by the Urban Planning Department, whereas the call for tenders by invitation AO 2024-04-ENV was issued by the town on January 15th of 2024, whereas the bids received were opened publicly on January 25th of 2024. There were 2 bids received, one for Solutions Alternatives Environnement, so these are the people we just mentioned, SAE, for $29,750, and for Nadeau Foresterie Urbaine for $43,750. So considering the compliance analysis carried out, this resolution is to award to Solutions Alternatives Environnement, the lowest conforming bidder, the contract for personnel loan, permit and inspection for an amount of $29,750 before taxes.
Le point 3.4, octroi de contrat, service d'inspection d'arbres. Considérant la pénurie de main-d'œuvre et le manque de personnel au sein du service de l'urbanisme et le nombre élevé de demandes de permis et de requêtes reçues par le service, considérant que l'appel d'offres sur invitation AO-2024-04 ENV a été lancé par la Ville le 15 janvier 2024, les soumissions reçues ont été ouvertes publiquement le 25 janvier 2024. Alors, ce sont les soumissions suivantes. Solutions alternatives environnement au montant de 29 750 et Nadeau Foresterie urbaine pour 43 750. Une analyse de conformité des soumissions a été effectuée. La résolution vise à octroyer à Solutions alternatives environnement, plus bas soumissionnaire conforme, le contrat de service d'inspection d'arbres pour un montant de 29 750 avant taxe.
Merci beaucoup. Do I have a mover? To my right. Peter Mate, seconded by Benoit Blais. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. 3.5, tabling of the monthly report for permits issued in December of 2023. So members of council, take note of the tabling of the monthly report for permits issued by the Urban Planning Department.
3.5, dépôt du rapport mensuel des permis émis, décembre 2023. Les membres du Conseil prennent acte du dépôt du rapport mensuel des permis émis du service de l'urbanisme.
Merci. Moving to section 4 on administration and finance. Item 4.1, approval of disbursements for January of 2024. So this resolution is to approve the following disbursements as of January 24th of 2024. Where the subtotal amount is $578,180.73, and where the total of accounts paid, including 3 payrolls, so these are the 2 last payrolls of December of 2023 and the first payroll of January, are $1,003,863.52.
Le point 4, administration et finances. 4.1, approbation des paiements pour le mois de janvier 2024. La présente résolution vise à approuver le paiement des comptes du 24 janvier 2024. Le sous-total des paiements représente 578 180,73 sous, ainsi que le total des comptes payés, incluant 3 payes, soit les 2 de 2023 et une en 2024. Au montant total de 1 003 863,52 sous.
Do I have a proposer? Benoit Blais, seconded by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Why are you smiling? I know. I just thought the same thing. Item 4.2, write-off of receivables of less than $10. Whereas it would not be cost-effective nor efficient to devote resources to collect amounts of less than $10. Whereas the total value of the write-off represents $569.47 for 332 transactions. This resolution is to approve the write-off of amounts receivable totaling $569.47 as per the receivables write-off journal dated January 29th of 2024.
Le point 4.2, radiation de recevables de moins de $10. Considérant qu'il ne serait pas économique ni efficace de consacrer des ressources pour collecter des montants de moins de $10, Considérant que la valeur totale de cette radiation représente 569,47 $ pour 332 transactions, la présente résolution vise à approuver la radiation des recevables totalisant 569,47 $, tel que produit par le journal de radiation des effets à recevoir daté du 29 janvier 2024.
Merci. Do I have a mover? Benoit Blais, seconded by Darren Legault. Are there any objections? Please raise your hand.
No, but I'd like to make a comment.
Yeah, please.
I can sleep tonight because I don't owe the $1.42 apparently I owed.
I'm so glad I was able to do that for you. I see there are no objections, therefore it is carried unanimously. Merci Marie-Jacinthe, merci Benoit. This, it started off, it was $5, and we had a recommendation from Marie-Jacinthe and her team to up that to $10, and it would greatly save. So I think that Benoit and Marie-Jacinthe agreed on this quickly, so thank you. Section 5, Town Clerk, 5.1, appointment of our interim assistant treasurer and interim assistant town clerk. So considering the absence of the treasurer and assistant treasurer for an indeterminate period, whereas in accordance with Section 106 of the Cities and Town Act, the assistant treasurer may exercise all the powers of the office of treasurer with the rights, duties, privileges, obligations, and penalties attached to such office. And whereas in accordance with Section 96 of the Cities and Towns Act, in the case of a vacancy in the office of town clerk, the assistant town clerk shall perform the duties of the office with the same rights, powers, and privileges, and under the same obligation and penalties until the vacancy is filled. This resolution is that Marie-Jacinthe Roberge, General Manager, be appointed Acting Assistant Treasurer, retroactive to January 24th of 2024, and that Ms. Marie-Jacinthe Roberge also be appointed Acting Assistant Town Clerk during any period of absence of the position of Town Clerk or Assistant Town Clerk, and that to that end, she will have the same powers and prerogatives.
Section 5, greffe 5.1, désignation trésorier adjoint par intérim et greffier adjoint par intérim. Considérant l'absence au poste de trésorier et au poste de trésorier adjoint pour une période indéterminée, conformément à l'article 106 de la loi sur les cités et villes, la trésorière adjointe peut exercer tous les pouvoirs de la charge de trésorier avec les droits, devoirs, privilèges, obligations et pénalités attachées à cette charge. Et conformément à l'article 96 de la loi sur les cités et villes, en cas de vacance dans la charge de greffier, le greffier adjoint doit exercer les devoirs de cette charge avec les mêmes droits, pouvoirs et privilèges et sous les mêmes obligations et pénalités jusqu'à ce que la vacance soit remplie. La présente résolution vise à nommer Mme Marie-Jacinthe Roberge, directrice générale, qu'elle soit nommée trésorière adjointe par intérim rétroactivement au 24 janvier 2024 et que Mme Marie-Jacinthe, directrice générale, soit également nommée greffière adjointe par intérim lors de toute période d'absence au poste de greffière ou de greffière adjointe, et qu'à cette fin, elle dispose des mêmes pouvoirs et prérogatives.
Merci beaucoup. Do I have a mover?
Just as a point of clarification, in terms of signing authority, because typically...
So there's always two people who sign the checks.
I know, but typically that's the DG and the treasurer.
No, so typically it's the treasurer and me.
Okay.
Or any one of us in my absence.
Okay.
We're all on file, so Marie-Jacinthe now has signing authority since, I think, the 26th of January at the bank. He went and signed everything. Anyway, I had the date, but very close to when it was, so it's all good.
Okay, thank you.
Covered. You're welcome. Mover? Peter Mead, seconded by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections with this resolution? There are none. It is carried unanimously. Section 6, Human Resources. 6.1, Adjustment to the Supplemental Unemployment Benefit Program, whereas Resolution R 2019-07-196, Supplemental Unemployment Benefit, or SUB, Program, whereas the program has not been subjected to any adjustments since its registration in 2019, this resolution is to adjust the Supplemental Unemployment Benefit Program to a maximum of $980 per week It had been 800, so we're just raising that ceiling. And to authorize the Human Resources Coordinator to establish and finalize the terms and conditions of the new supplemental unemployment benefit plan with Service Canada and any documents required to give effect to this resolution.
Section 6, ressources humaines, point 6.1, ajustement du régime de prestations supplémentaires de chômage. Considérant la résolution R 2019-07-196, programme de prestations supplémentaires de chômage, considérant que le programme n'a subi aucun ajustement depuis son enregistrement en 2019, la présente résolution vise à ajuster le régime de prestations supplémentaires de chômage à un maximum de 980 $ par semaine et d'autoriser la coordonnatrice en ressources humaines de fixer et finaliser les modalités du nouveau régime de prestations supplémentaires de chômage auprès de Service Canada, ainsi que tout document requis pour donner effet à la présente résolution.
Merci beaucoup. Do I have it's Darren Legault, proposed and seconded by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to the resolution? There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 6.2, recognition of seniority. Whereas it is important for the town to recognize the years of service rendered by the employees. This resolution is to recognize the following employees for their dedication and hard work. There are quite a few of them this year that are following. I guess they're in 5-year increments, but anyway, here we go. Franca Gramigna, 30 years. Adrian Bonnemeyer, 25 years. Shane Bonnemeyers, 25 years. Don Croydon, 25 years. Etienne Lavoie, 20 years. Etelka Deshkazi, 10 years. Joël Villandré, 5 years. And René Huneau, 5 years. And this resolution is to approve and authorize the Human Resources Coordinator to pay such seniority bonuses as provided for in said employment agreement on the anniversary date of the 2024 seniority of the above-mentioned employees. So thank you, all of these people, for working for the town of Hudson and dedicating your time to this place. We can see that there's an attachment to working here. There are several who are, many of them, we see 6 this year, or 5 this year, that are above the 20-year mark, so that's pretty remarkable. So thank you again, and we hope that you will continue with us. En français.
6.2, reconnaissance de l'ancienneté. Alors, considérant qu'il est important pour la Ville de reconnaître les années de service rendues par ses employés, la présente résolution vise à reconnaître les employés ci-dessus pour leur dévouement et leur bon travail. Franca Gramega, 30 ans. Adrian Bonnemeyers, 25 ans. Shane Bonnemeyers, 25 ans. Don Crowden, 25 ans. Étienne Lavoie, 20 ans. Etelka Dizazi, 10 ans. Joël Villandré, 5 ans. Et René Huneau, 5 ans. Et d'approuver et d'autoriser la coordonnatrice en ressources humaines de verser les primes d'ancienneté comme prévu aux dites ententes de travail à la date d'anniversaire de leurs anciennetés pour l'année 2024 des employés si haut mentionnés.
Proposer, Darren Legault. He usually goes for the human resources. And Reed Thompson, you see it's starting to happen. I'm starting to forget. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. So thank you again. This is truly remarkable, and we're very pleased to have you with us. Item 6.3, maternity leave replacement, administrative assistant for Public Works Department. Whereas the administrative assistant in the Public Works Department will be leaving on maternity leave on March 15th of 2024, and that the town wishes to substitute and fill the position until the employee returns from maternity leave. Whereas a posting took place as prescribed in Article 9 of the collective agreement and ended on January 5th of 2024, whereas the selection process, assessment, and interview of applications were made. This resolution is to appoint Ms. Isabelle Turgeon to the position of Administrative Assistant, Function 117 in the Public Works Department, full-time, temporary, unionized position for a fixed term beginning on February 19th of 2024 and ending upon employee 1006's return from maternity leave scheduled for the early April 2025, and that the hiring of Ms. Isabelle Turgeon be effective as of February 19th.
6.3, remplacement congé de maternité adjoint administratif au service des travaux publics. Considérant que l'adjointe administrative au service des travaux publics quittera pour un congé de maternité le 15 mars 2024 et que la Ville désire remplacer et pourvoir le poste jusqu'au retour du congé de maternité de l'employé, et considérant qu'un affichage a eu lieu tel que prescrit à l'article 9 de la Convention collective et que celui-ci s'est terminé le 5 janvier 2024, un processus de sélection, d'évaluation et d'entrevue des candidatures a eu lieu. La présente résolution vise à nommer Mme Isabelle Turgeon au titre d'adjointe administrative, la fonction 117, au service des travaux publics, poste syndiqué temporaire à temps plein, pour une durée déterminée débutant le 19 février 2024 et se terminant au retour du congé de maternité de l'employé 1006, prévu vers le début du mois d'avril 2025, et que l'embauche de Mme Isabelle Turgeon soit effective dès le 19 janvier.
Darren Legault, seconded by Peter Mate. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. So welcome Isabelle Turgeon to the team. We're getting there. Section 7, Culture and Recreation, Item 7.1, grants to associations and nonprofit organizations of 2024, whereas Council has evaluated requests for financial support from municipal associations and organizations as per the policy for recognition and support of nonprofit organizations. This resolution is to adopt the following financial contributions and to confirm this information by letter to the organizations as soon as possible following the adoption of this resolution. So the list is Le Pont Bridging, $5,000, Meals on Wheels, $1,000, Hudson Festival of Canadian Film, $4,000, Le Nichoir, $2,000, Greenwood Center for Living History, $5,500, Hudson Village Theatre, $12,500, Hudson Chamber Music Series, $2,000, Hudson Auto Show, $1,500, Hudson Food Collective, $7,500, Hudson Creative Hub, $10,000, Hudson Historical Society, $4,750, Scouts Cavagnal, $3,000, Vaudreuil-Soulanges Irish Society, $8,500, Arts Hudson, $1,000, Hudson Music Festival, $8,500, plus a maximum of $1,500 in insurance. The total is $78,250. So interesting to note that most of these amounts are similar to the ones that were given last year. We are in the process of working on a cultural policy that will help give better focus and priorities to what we will be supporting, what type of programs and projects we will be looking for, so becoming more specific as to where this money will be headed. Also, just to note that the amount that was requested this year was in the total of $150,750, so it's a lot of money that is being asked by the town. And this doesn't take into account all the in-kind as well requests that are made. But all this to say that since 2021, we continue to increase the submittals, or the funding that was given in 2021 was $55,000. So we continue to increase. This is, almost $25,000 more. So we do take this seriously. And also to note that we also have on the side when the SDC, if the SDC is ever ready to start again, there will also be an amount set aside for that reboot for this year. I believe that is that. Proposer? En français.
Section 7, Culture et loisirs, 7.1, subventions aux associations et organismes pour l'année 2024. Considérant que le Conseil a évalué les demandes d'appui financier des associations et organismes municipaux en lien avec la politique de reconnaissance et de soutien des organismes à but non lucratif, la présente résolution vise à adopter la liste des contributions financières pour supporter ces organismes et d'en confirmer la teneur par lettre aux organismes dans les meilleurs délais après l'adoption des présentes. Alors, le pont Bridging, $5 000, la popote roulante, $1 000, Festival du film canadien de Hudson, $4 000, le Nichoir, $2 000, le Centre d'histoire vivante Greenwood, $5 500, Hudson Village Theatre, 12 500. Série de musique de chambre d'Hudson, 2 000 Exposition de voitures d'Hudson, 1 500. Collectif alimentaire de Hudson, 7 500. Centre créatif Hudson, 10 000 Société historique de Hudson, 4 750. Scouts Cavagnal, 3 000 La Société irlandaise Vaudreuil-Soulanges, 8 500. Art Hudson, 1 000 et le Festival de musique de Hudson, 8 500, plus un maximum de 1 500 pour des frais d'assurance.
Reed Thompson, seconded by Doug Smith. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. I will pull back from the table for item 7.2.
So item 7.2 is a grant to the Vaudreuil-Soulanges Palliative Care Home Foundation in 2024. And let the record show that Mayor Chloe Hutchison has an interest in the matter and is recusing herself. Whereas Council has evaluated the request for financial support from the Vaudreuil-Soulanges Palliative Care Home Foundation as per the policy for recognition and support of nonprofit organizations, this resolution is to adopt the following financial contribution and to confirm this information by letter to the Vaudreuil-Soulanges Palliative Care Home Foundation as soon as possible following the adoption of this resolution. And the amount is for $5,000. En français?
Le point 7.2, subvention à la Fondation Maison de soins palliatifs de Vaudreuil-Soulanges pour l'année 2024. Alors, la mairesse Chloé Hudson a un intérêt dans la question et elle doit se récuser. Alors, considérant que le Conseil a évalué la demande d'appui financier de la Fondation Maison des soins palliatifs de Vaudreuil-Soulanges en lien avec la politique de reconnaissance et de soutien des organismes, la présente résolution vise à adopter la contribution financière qui suit et d'en confirmer la teneur par lettre à la Fondation Maison de soins palliatifs de Vaudreuil-Soulanges dans les meilleurs délais après l'adoption des présentes. La Fondation Maison des soins palliatifs de Vaudreuil-Soulanges aura une contribution financière de $5 000.
I will need a mover, please. Darren Legault, seconded by Benoit Blais. Is there anyone opposed to this resolution? None. It is carried unanimously. And please let the record show, Chloe Hutchison, Mayor, returns to the table.
You do this so well.
Thank you.
Section 8, Public Works, item 8.1, awarding of contract AO 2024-06-TP Hydrovac service. Whereas the need for hydrovac service equipment for the potable water network, sanitary sewer network, and the storm sewer, the public call for tenders AO 2024-06-TP was issued by the Director of Public Works on January 18th of 2024 and published on the SEAO, which is that public tender site. The bids received were opened publicly on February 5th of 2024. There were 4 prices received. So one was for the company number 11974904 Canada Inc., also called Hydrocam, for the amount of $186,844.75. There was Service de Rebut Soulanges Inc. for the amount of $213,913.75. There was another numbered company, 9363-988 Quebec Inc., also called Sanivac, for $217,308.75. And there was Construction Camara, and their numbered company is 6742114 Canada Inc., and they were for the amount of $479,736. So considering that the compliance analysis was carried out, this resolution is to award to 11974904 Canada Inc. This was Hydrocam. The lowest conforming bidder, the contract for hydrovac service for an amount of $186,844.75 before taxes. The AO-2024-06-TP documents the bid and the present resolution forming an integral part of this agreement.
Section 8, Travaux publics, 8.1, octroi de contrat AO 2024-06-TP pour le service d'une unité hydrovacuum. Alors, considérant que le besoin d'équipement de service hydrovacuum pour le réseau d'eau potable le réseau d'égouts sanitaires et l'égout pluvial. Un appel d'offres public AO 2024-06 TP a été lancé par le directeur des travaux publics le 18 janvier 2024 et publié sur SEAO, qui est un système électronique d'appel d'offres. Les soumissions reçues ont été ouvertes publiquement le 5 février 2024. Les soumissions suivantes ont été reçues. 1197-4904 Canada Inc. Hydrocam pour un montant de 186 844,75 sous. Service de rebut Soulanges Incorporé, 213 913,75 sous. 9363-988 Québec Inc. Sanivac, 217 308,75 sous. Et Construction Camara, 6742 114 Canada Inc., 479 736 $. L'analyse de conformité des soumissions a été effectuée. La résolution vise à octroyer à 1197-4904 Canada Inc. Hydrocam, le plus bas soumissionnaire conforme, le contrat de service d'une unité hydrovacuum pour un montant de 186 844,75 sous avant taxe. Les documents d'appel d'offres AO 2024-06 TP, la soumission et la présente résolution forment la convention liant les parties.
Merci. Do we have a mover? Peter Mate, seconded by Benoit Blais. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 8.2, renewal AO 2020-14-TP for street cleaning. Considering the resolution R 2020-12-322 awarding of contract AO 2020-14-TP street cleaning 2, Entretien GR Villeneuve Inc., whereas the contract has an initial term of 3 years with the possibility of renewal for the year 2024, whereas the town wishes to extend the street cleaning contract with Entretien GR Villeneuve Inc. until December 31st of 2024. This resolution is to renew until December 31st of 2024 as stipulated in the contract awarded to Entretien GR Villeneuve Inc. for street cleaning services for the year 2024 at a price of $510 per kilometer and 30 cents per square meter plus taxes. The tender documents and this resolution establishing the agreement binding the parties as provided for in tender document AO-2020-14-TP.
Point 8.2, renouvellement AO 2024-14-TP, balayage de rue. En considérant la résolution R 2020-12-322, octroi de contrat AO 2020-14-TP, balayage des rues, octroyé à la compagnie Entretien JR Villeneuve Incorporée, considérant que le contrat a une durée initiale de 3 ans avec une possibilité de renouvellement pour l'année 2024, et considérant que la Ville désire prolonger le contrat de balayage des rues avec Entretien JR Villeneuve jusqu'au 31 décembre 2024, la présente résolution vise à renouveler jusqu'au 31 décembre 2024, tel que prévu au contrat, le contrat octroyé à Entretien JR Villeneuve Incorporé pour les services de balayage des rues pour l'année 2024 au prix de 510 $ au kilomètre et 30 sous au mètre carré plus les taxes. Le dossier d'appel d'offres et la présente résolution établissant l'entente liant les parties tel que prévu au dossier d'appel d'offres AO 2020-14-TP.
Merci. Do I have a mover? Reed Thompson, seconded by Peter Mate. Are there any objections to this resolution? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 8.3, MTMD, request for a study of critical intersections at Route 342. This is Harwood Boulevard. Considering that the town has received several requests to improve the visibility and security of 3 intersecting roads with the provincial numbered route Harwood, whereas the MTMD will perform a study of each intersection upon official request from a town. This resolution is to request the Ministre des Transports et de la Mobilité durable to perform a study of the following: visibility, so street lights, geometry of the intersections and signaling at the following intersections. Signaling, c'est peut-être plus de l'affichage, but anyway, it doesn't really matter. Signage, thank you. At the following intersections, so Bellevue and Harwood Route, at Cameron Street and Harwood Route, and at Cambridge Street and Harwood Route. So these are the three intersections, and that the study be presented to the town administration upon completion. So simply to note that Marie-Jacinthe and I had a meeting with the ministry on the 15th of January to cover these items with them, and they directed us to the procedure. The correct procedure is to adopt this resolution and to transfer it to them, at which point they will initiate their study and process. Please.
When might we expect?
So the studies apparently are triggered rapidly. We already have a study for the intersection of Bellevue and Harwood, so they've asked that we supply that to them. But it's clear that then for any work that may come from it or any suggestion redesign of the geometry, if it's not on their priority list, it can take quite a while before they redo those.
I'm just wondering, when might they come back to us with?
Les études se font pendant la période estivale que le ministère nous a confirmé. Là. Ça se réalise seulement pendant l'été. Donc, réalistement, on attend des conclusions probablement à l'automne, j'imagine.
So the studies take place during the summer season, and then results of the studies, we expect to receive them by the fall. But then for the next stage, it could take quite a while. The intersection at Cambridge and Harwood, the question has been to add lighting. That might happen a little bit faster, we would hope. But anyway, they seemed very open, and there will be ongoing exchanges between the town and the ministry with regards to improving signage, as presently the signage is within their right-of-way, and it has to conform to their law, and right now we don't necessarily follow their regulations. We also discussed trucking and how to keep large trucks from driving through Hudson, and Main Road is absolutely already recorded on their maps as being interdit, so forbidden for big trucks to travel on. However, the cross streets, so Bellevue, Cameron, and Côte Saint Charles are not yet on that list, but that's something that we'll probably continue to ask for. C'est bon? En français?
8.3, demande d'études d'intersection névralgique, route 342 Harwood, MTMD. Alors, considérant que la Ville a reçu plusieurs demandes pour améliorer la visibilité et la sécurité de 3 rues qui croisent la route provinciale numérotée Harwood, considérant que le MTMD effectuera une étude de chaque intersection sur réception d'une demande officielle de la Ville, la présente résolution vise à demander au ministre des Transports et de la Mobilité durable de réaliser une étude suivante: visibilité, éclairage public, géométrie de l'intersection, signalisation, aux intersections suivantes: Bellevue et Harwood, rue Cameron et route Harwood, rue Cambridge et route Harwood.
Merci. Do we have a mover? Benoit Blais, seconded by Peter Mate. Are there any objections? Please raise your hand. There are none. It is carried unanimously. Section 9 on public safety, item 9.1, water rescue equipment, offer of services for PTI. Whereas the purpose of the present document is to propose the replacement of water rescue equipment to meet the NFPA 1952 standards. So this is a standard on protective clothing and equipment for service water operations. Whereas the SSI has requested 4 bids for the equipment in question. The SSI is our Service de Sécurité Incendie, so SSI, whereas the project is divided into 2 sections, whereas the companies that submitted bids for the following items, this is for a rescue suit, thermal protection undergarment, and hood, for 100, so the 3 submittals were from 1,200 Degrees Boivin Gauvin Inc. for $42,444.96, from CIFA Inc. for $16,629, and from Level 6 for $15,261.85. Considering that the companies that submitted their bids for the following items, rescue boots, there'd be 2 companies, ACR, $3,536.88, and CIFA Inc. for $3,238.80. This resolution is to authorize the purchase of rescue suits, thermal protection underwear, and hoods from Level 6 for an amount of $15,261.85 before taxes, and also to authorize the purchase of rescue boots from CIFA Inc. for an amount of $3,238.80 before taxes.
Section 9, Sécurité publique. 9.1, Équipement de sauvetage nautique, offre de service dans le PTI. Alors, considérant que l'objet de la présente a pour but de proposer le remplacement des équipements de sauvetage nautique pour rencontrer les normes NFPA 1952, soit les normes sur les vêtements et équipements de protection pour les opérations en eau de surface, considérant que le service de sécurité d'incendie a procédé à la demande de 4 soumissions pour les équipements en question, considérant que le projet se divise en 2 sections, considérant que les entreprises ayant déposé une soumission pour les items suivants, la combinaison de sauvetage, la protection thermique sous-vêtements, la cagoule, 1200, compagnie 1200 degrés Boivin et Gauvin incorporés au montant de 42 444,96 sous, CIFA incorporé au montant de 16 629 Level 6 au montant de 15 261,85 sous, et considérant que les entreprises suivantes ont déposé une soumission pour les items suivants, les bottes de sauvetage, ACR au montant de 3 536,88 et CIFA incorporé au montant de 3 238, la présente résolution vise à autoriser l'achat des combinaisons de sauvetage, les protections thermiques, les sous-vêtements et les cagoules du fournisseur Level 6 pour un montant de 15 261,85 sous avant taxe, et d'autoriser l'achat des bottes de sauvetage du fournisseur CIFA incorporé pour un montant de 3 238,80 sous avant taxe.
Do I have a mover? Darren Legault, seconded by Peter Mate. Are there any objections to this resolution? There are none. It is carried unanimously. Item 9.2, revision of the Municipal Civil Protection Plan. This is for an offer of services, whereas in order to ensure the protection of persons and property in the event of a disaster on its territory, the Town of Hudson has a civil security plan as well as specific intervention plans in accordance with the models proposed by the Ministère de la Sécurité Publique, or the MSP. Whereas the town's objective is to review and improve its preparedness for the risks present on its territory. And this resolution is to accept the offer of services from Firme Prudent in the amount of $23,493 before taxes. And perhaps just to add, this is for a period where they will be reviewing our present measures and also offering to improve them or to adapt them to our present needs, but also to train personnel and to do some trial runs as well to make sure that the plan is fully functional and ready to go. Merci.
9.2, révision du plan municipal de sécurité civile, une offre de service. Considérant qu'afin d'assurer la protection des personnes et des biens en cas de sinistre sur son territoire, la Ville de Hudson est dotée d'un plan de sécurité civile ainsi que des plans particuliers d'intervention en conformité avec les modèles proposés par le ministère de la Sécurité publique. Considérant que la Ville a pour objectif de réviser et d'améliorer son état de préparation face aux risques présents sur le territoire, la présente résolution vise à accepter l'offre de service de la firme Prudent au montant de 23 493 avant taxe.
Merci. Do I have a mover to my right? Peter Mate, seconded by Reed Thompson. Are there any objections to this resolution?
Okay. Parfait.
It is carried by majority. So there are no items under Section 10 bylaws, none under new business. Anyone? No? So we now open the second question period. So I remind you to try and keep your questions to being questions and to keep them within a time frame of 3 minutes each. There are 23 people online and about the same, I think minus 2 or 3 in the room. Please go ahead, Jim.
Yes. First is a point of information. There's a confusion surrounding a question that was asked during the first question period, and it concerns what will be allowed during the freeze period for the 4 months it will take to or more to adopt these to 767, 768. Now, LAU Article 114 is clear. When a notice of motion, and I'm sorry to read, but I want you to hear this. When a notice of motion has been given to adopt or amend a zoning bylaw, no building plan may be approved, nor may any permit or certificate be granted for the carrying out of works or use of an immovable, which, if the bylaw that is the subject of the notice of motion is adopted, will be prohibited in the zone concerned. Essentially, it's no different whether you're cutting a 2-inch sapling or any sapling over 2 inches or anything else. You either have
Jim,
a blanket freeze.
If I may?
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that an immovable and a tree are the same, but what I suggest is that we'll
It's a permit.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
What I suggest is that we'll look into that tomorrow and make sure that we give you a written answer to your question.
Yeah, because it's either or. Some things are approved, some things aren't, and it gets
clear.
into a real
It is
gray
clear,
area.
but I'd rather get the proper answer
Understood.
from our technical staff.
Understood. And the second question is a question that I was told couldn't be answered during the 31st consultation because it was political and not something that was in the purview of the people at the front of the room. I'm talking about 767. The intent of the proposed townwide tax on construction and renovation. Now that, we were told, is for the funding of parks, recreation, facilities, trails, acquisition, maintenance, and upgrades. My question is, was there a cost-benefit analysis on what will be gained or lost as a result of this? Do you have that? And second, how much money is the town hoping to raise through all of this for the parks and green space, trails, maintenance, upgrades, acquisition?
So there was no cost analysis. We don't do cost analysis on, as you know, whether we're going to get more fines, and if we increase fines, then we'll have that type of revenue. We have heard the comments and the questions on that. And yes, the intent is to have, as you know, contributions have existed in the law since the 1960s, and incrementally there have been larger and larger permissions in the law to diversify municipal fiscality in order to preserve greater green spaces and provide better playground areas and such. So this is not a new measure, it's just there is new permissions in law, but we have heard you and we understand that at this time, until there is, and I liked one of the comments that came that evening, which was, the conservation plan and the priorities set in the conservation plan will help guide that. So that is definitely something that for me carried a lot of weight. And I believe that when we receive the report and the results from the consultation period, we will continue to deliberate on how to better put that in place. Our intent is really to have the best acceptability to these plans as possible. We need to balance development and environment. We understand that at this time, the town is reasonably split on those two questions, and we will continue to work in this sense. We have to do it collaboratively. It is very important for us.
I know it's a broken record, but are you going to put a connectivity fee, upload a connectivity fee on any development? Are you going to ask developers and people that are developing properties to pay a share of share of the consumption, the capacity of the system?
I am glad you're asking that question.
It's not in the bylaw. It's not in either of those
and
bylaws.
I would hope that you would put that in your written comments, because the written comments...
Are you going to read my written comments?
Of course we will. That's why we're doing this process. But you bring up a good point, and I should have raised this at the beginning. There are two bylaws that are being presented for, well, one is a new one, and we've heard a lot about the proposed modifications to the first set. But the second one is brand new bylaw, and we haven't heard much on that. So that might be a really good place to insert that comment, and will help us improve it in the next few weeks.
You said you are open to suggestion.
Absolutely.
And you are open to maybe adopting or tabling withdrawing one of these bylaws or both these bylaws?
I would
and
rather
replacing
aim
with
to
another version?
I would rather aim to work at improving what is already in these bylaws rather than to completely removing them.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions online? I don't see any hands raised. I have 3 questions here, so maybe what I'll do is I'll do one and then do you. So one of the questions I received today was, there is a great deal of concern, particularly posted in social media, as to this consultation process and how citizens can best give their input. The information the town has posted indicates that the questionnaire is the only channel through which comments will be accepted. But that would be towards the creation of a report by the consultation company. My question is, will letters from citizens also be taken into consideration along with the input received from the survey? So my answer is, as we have clarified, is the consultation expert is working off of written material, and the channel to submit the written material was the dialogue meeting, but also that form. There is quite a bit of space at the end of the form where you can copy-paste, that would be really the best if you can take your text and copy-paste it into there. And all of that will be read, analyzed, and assessed. We will surely have access as well to all of the text. I'd like to remind you that the cultural policy the cultural offering survey that was run by the Hudson Arts and Culture Council last spring actually also gathered about 400 answers. Obviously, this will probably outdo it, but we did read, and they continue to be reading and analyzing all of that material. Same thing when I launched the questionnaire with regards to Pine Lake and where to go with Pine Lake. We also received, I think the number in that case was 427. And we... 26. We read every single, because we're curious. We genuinely want to hear from you. So please, don't presume that we won't take this to heart and that we won't go through all of them. But so that's my answer to question 1 is, yes, you need to submit them in writing through the form. So, sorry. Steve, you're next.
Hello again, Steve Farrell. Clarification on point 5.1, please. I now understand that Marie-Jacinthe, as DG, will also be Assistant Treasurer and Assistant Town Clerk. Those are 3 very high positions, yes, with very inconsistent and incompatible functions with respect to internal control, with the initiation, authorization, and approval of transactions, totally incongruent. Is there going to be any other oversight on top of that during her reign with those 3 positions?
With regard,
just a question.
With regards to town clerk, we have Mrs. McKercher, who's interim town clerk until our person comes back from maternity leave, and we also have Madame Huneau, who's also there. So I would think that this is just extra provision of having Marie-Jacinthe for town clerk. With regards to treasurer, as you know, we have several people in the treasury department. So we have that external person, Monsieur Talarico, I've forgotten his first name, who has been helping the town even while our treasurer was in place, who is there and has extreme experience. We also have other staff members who are well versed in the use of our complex system, but we also don't expect that this position will remain empty for a very long time.
Yeah, it's not with the use. I mean, anybody can learn the use of something. It's with respect to having ultimate authority and approval process on transactions, which the town has seen what the impact can be 8 years ago.
Agreed.
That's all I'm saying.
I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for hearing me out.
You're welcome. Thank you, Steve. There are still no questions online, so sorry, Louise, I'll read the second one. As per the consultation meeting last week, the feedback was a resounding no to several of the items proposed in these draft bylaws. What percentage of citizens' responses are required for council and mayor to remove these items from the draft bylaws? And can they be removed, or does the whole process have to start over? And please confirm if there is a process in place to verify that the input received is coming only from the residents of Hudson. So there is no set percentage, because essentially the process of receiving your comments is really to get a feel as to what is the proportion, but also where are the sticking points. I don't think we are to the point of counting it. Yes, people from outside of Hudson were able to fill in the form because there's a lot of people who own property in Hudson but live outside of Hudson and they rent their property, so we wanted them to also have access to the questionnaire. But there are two questions at the start of the questionnaire. One says, are you a resident or a renter, and or do you live outside of Hudson? So that's the first one that gives us the hint as to, are you presently in the town or not? And then the other one is, what street? So yes, people can certainly, let's say everybody would answer Main Road. We do know how many addresses we have on Main Road. It's reasonably easy to do a guess, but we're not here to say that the survey would be discounted. It is really there to give us texture and to give us a greater sense of what the pushback, or what maybe there might be some positives that come out of this process as well. So otherwise, with regards to would we start the process over with the bylaws? Well, as you've heard, the RCI has been in place since December of 21. We would like to be able to release the properties. There are quite a few that have been locked down because of the inability to subdivide. So the sooner we can release the RCI, the better. But we want to make sure that whatever we replace it with is something that is workable for all.
Mrs. Mayor, for the record, can you indicate who these questions are coming from?
Yes, Eva McCartney.
Sorry?
Eva McCartney.
Both of them?
And there's a third one, which I'll read
Perfect.
next time. You're
Thank
welcome. You. Yes.
Okay, so just to clarify, I think you just answered a couple of things. You said you will not accept letters that are sent to council for the participation period. That's what you said?
We have asked you to submit your letters through...
No, I get that. What you're saying is that you will not accept letters sent from residents during the participation period? Is that what you're saying?
We will read them, but if you'd like them to be taken into account into the consultation report, these need to go through the channel that has been...
Letters get tabled.
I beg your pardon?
Letters get tabled.
Not necessarily.
Yes, they do. It's the way it is. It's the way it is. Okay, so you just answered Jim before about you did not do a cost-benefit analysis of what this new bylaw was going to do. I'm just going to, I had to bring it back out. L'élu municipal est l'acteur principal de la vie démocratique municipale, choisi par les citoyens pour veiller aux intérêts de la collectivité. Il assume diverses responsabilités, certaines prévues par la loi, d'autres inhérentes à la nature même de son mandat. Vu la nature élective de sa charge, l'élu municipal répond d'abord à sa capacité à relever les défis de son mandat envers les électeurs. So, we don't know what this is going to be doing to the electors, because we have not done any kind of analysis on this. We're going to be freezing everything for 4 months plus, so we're going to be affecting anybody that's in construction, real estate market, values of properties. How does this meet with the obligations of a member of council? This is your number one thing. Their number one responsibility is to look after the residents of Hudson.
The freeze for 4 months, I think that's the question that relates to what Jim brought up, and we will look into that tomorrow and clarify what has been frozen that is not already frozen by the RCI and get back to Jim. You live together. You will both have the answer tomorrow.
I can assure you he's already checked it with lawyers, urban planners, the province.
We do as well. I just don't have the answer at my fingertips.
Okay.
With regards to cost analysis, I think you heard the previous Director General at the 31st of January meeting, where he said they had looked at the number of permits where this would have applied to, and I believe the number off the top of my head was about 125 permits that came in, and 5 only would be assujettis, so affected by the presently proposed changes.
The past 3 years.
Was it 3 years?
Yeah.
So all this to say that it sounds, I think, as though it is very strong, but actually doesn't apply as often as we think to Hudson. Because again, these are for permits of construction. Renovations rarely go for permit unless you're making major changes to your house. So it's not for changing paints or changing cabinetry. It is really for more significant. But you've had that answer. That was also given, I believe, on January 31st. And again, we continue to receive and hear your comments, and we will take these under consideration in the next few.
Because it was very misleading, saying only 5 would have been penalized by this when we look at all the new houses in Hudson, whether it be Main Road, whether it be on Cameron, whether it be infill development in the village. Many new houses are there. They all would have been affected by this bylaw. There's a house that you worked on. You did the plan. I think it's on Pine. They, I think, doubled the size of the house. They would have been affected by this. So there's a lot of people that would have been affected, far more than 5 people. But what I really worry about is what this is going to do right now this summer for the next 4 months to Hudson Hardware, to anybody that does renovations, the plumbers, the electricians, the local contractors, the fire department. A lot of the people in the fire department, the volunteers, do that. They do renovations in town. This helps keep them in town because it gives them another source of revenue.
But I think we need to separate what actually goes for permit and what doesn't. And again, we continue to hear you and receive those comments. We've heard that one several times, and absolutely, it is, I think, very pertinent, and we're glad that that was raised.
So just
I would like to make sure that everybody understands that there are other elements. There's the second bylaw we need you to look at as well. To continually hammer on the same point, we've heard you. I promise you we've heard you.
Yeah, the Survey Monkey, just to let you know, I could enter it more than once, and I actually did enter it more than once. Only the first 2 questions, because I didn't want to hinder the system. So it's really easy to just keep entering it over and over and over again. So I wouldn't put it like too much value into it. But as far as a letter, it is tabled. It's an official document. You can validate who sent it to you. And I really don't want residents to think they're not allowed to send letters to council because it's their right to do that.
Never said they weren't allowed, Louise. We just said if you'd like it to be accounted into the consultation process by this expert consultant, that it needs to go through that channel. That is what was said. We have never said that it was not allowed.
It says only. Anyway, I would have liked to have seen
one new question online.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen new business. You know why? I would have liked to have seen new business because I think the way that the previous council was held, it was questioned at the end of that meeting that there were certain things that were not on the order, and I could tell by the way that Darren explained it that he was a little bit, what was going on here? Am I actually adopting this bylaw? Is it a draft bylaw? What's going on? So there was confusion in the process of the whole thing. This is something really serious, and I think we should have taken pause with 2 councillors to say, let's find out what's going on.
What's your question, Louise?
My question is, you had a choice. You could have done this tonight. Why was there not new business?
Thank you, Louise. All right. Question 3 from person who is actually online. This question is regarding the 33% renovation mark for construction permits that triggers the contribution to the Parks Fund. Is this 33% mark applied only for a one-time construction renovation, or is it calculated cumulatively and or retroactively? And if so, over what period of time? For example, if someone were do a 20% renovation like their kitchen in 2024 and then a 20% renovation of their living room in 2025, would this end up being considered over the 33% mark, or even half your basement one year and half in the following year? Please elaborate how this would work. So this is more of a technical question, but again, there are some elements in this question that do not require a permit, so do not even apply, and the rest is with regards to intensifying of activities. So that question on the basement, and we certainly did hear you on this. So adding occupational space or surface area in your home in the present case would apply. And in terms of whether it is cumulative or not, it is for each time that you ask for a construction permit, that then they would do the evaluation as to what you've already paid would be subtracted and whatever is left would be payable. So again, for more details, that is really much more of a technical question and should go through our technical people, so please add it to the questionnaire, and hopefully that will be addressed. Do you want to pass that to Darren? It's also Eva. I'll share it. She sent these questions to Town Hall this afternoon, and it said questions to be read at the council meeting. All right. Helen.
Yeah, hi, Helen Kurganski.
Hi,
I
Helen.
have just two questions. Number 3.3, the awarding of a contract for strategic support for urban planning. Could you, I didn't quite get the name of the firm that you've hired.
Enclume. Enclume.
Enclume?
It's like the, you know, to beat the horse's horseshoe on. What is that in French?
Enclume. Oh.
Anvil.
E-N-C-L-U-M-E?
Enclume. The anvil in English.
Okay.
Don't beat the horse on the...
And what is they're tasked with for the $9,000? What is their request for us?
Yes, I actually printed that. So.
The stalemate, Chloe.
I'll do it from the top of my head. There are two projects in the downtown core, two properties, where in terms of approval of the city, of town, and council, we're running into a stone wall. So one of the ways to unlock that, rather than to continually go through TPAC or to council, we suggested that there be a collaborative working environment created for both, and that this would be an opportunity to move away from our rectangular boxes and to look to develop differently, possibly with creating those step backs, but also a little more interest in articulation at the ground floor level. So as you know, our present bylaws do not encourage or bring a developer towards that type of redevelopment. So this is a way of sort of testing how would we get there and what type of shape would that look like in terms of acceptability, yes, of the developer, but also of the town. And we would be working with council and TPAC as well, but being accompanied essentially by this mediator in design or co-design. And so we're quite excited about this process. It's not necessarily a pilot project, but one way to sort of get us out of our rut of the present, sort of where are these bylaws taking us and what do we replace them with?
And if I understood correctly, this company has already worked with other municipalities. Can you mention, you said, well...
Oh my goodness. Enclume, is it Enclume that did this? No. Do you remember?
I think from memory there was like 100 towns that work with them, or 120 towns.
Their CV is about 5 pages long, and each person is very long. I'll check with Madame McCurcher if we're allowed to share it. But
juste ici, là, je vois
ouais,
Montréal, la MRC Témiscouata,
Mais peux-tu donner des exemples de types de projets qu'ils ont faits qui peuvent se ressembler?
Il y a différents plans d'aménagement, des plans directeurs en aménagement, des propositions de modification réglementaire, des analyses patrimoniales, des études patrimoniales aussi. Je vois Ville de Léry, Hawkesbury, Notre-Dame-du-Lot. En fait, là, c'est très, très, très étoffé, mais beaucoup beaucoup de réglementation, beaucoup de patrimoine, mais évidemment, hein, c'est des urbanistes, là, fait que urbanistes aménagistes. Là.
Okay, and my other question, I know Marie-Jeanne Saint-Roberge, I find she's going to be wearing a lot of hats, as with all due respect to your competency and your, just that you're going to be wearing a lot of hats when you're just starting out with the town. Is there going to be some support for you? Like, for example, the past interim director general, is he going to be able to come in and give a hand? You're wearing, you know, treasurer, director general, greffière.
Marie-Jeanne, she's worrying for you, which is very healthy.
And for the town. Both works two ways, right?
Martin continues with us, but at a lesser rhythm, so about 14, 15 hours a week. And he really has been mandated with the special projects, whereas Marie-Jacinthe continues with the day-to-day. I believe that as we're adding and filling the empty positions, it's making it easier as well for her staff to get their feet underneath them. But for now, I get to see her hours every week, and they range between, say, 47 and 53 hours a week, and I think that it's a decent rhythm. He's saying we're old school, and it used to be 70 hours in our time when we started. And all this to say that she also has a family life, and we're very pleased with her.
I'm just saying that she's this treasurer hat on top of director general hat and assistant greffier. That's a lot of responsibility, a lot of oversight, a lot of everyday to-day details. And anyway, just are you thinking of giving her some little extra support so she could?
Well, we would like to see that seat filled rapidly. Obviously, we've had the help of Monsieur Talarico, who spent extra hours. That was one of the extra contracts that you saw come through. I think it was December. We've renewed it a couple of times. And he also came with some help. Veux-tu rajouter quelque chose?
Bien, Monsieur Talarico, effectivement, est accompagné par une adjointe qui aide à la saisie des données. Autrement, effectivement, l'objectif, c'est de combler le poste de trésorier le plus rapidement possible. Puis pour ce qui est du greffe, c'est strictement une sécurité, en fait, qu'on se donne, là, mais ça relève de situations tout à fait exceptionnelles s'il n'y a personne au greffe. C'est vraiment une sécurité administrative. Sinon, au niveau de la trésorerie, effectivement, c'est d'aller le plus rapidement possible pour dénicher la perle rare.
And I think it's important to note that Marie-Jacinthe sits on a conseil d'administration de la Caisse des Jardins. Je pense que c'est régional, hein? And you've been doing that. Ça fait quand même un bon bout de temps que tu fais ça aussi.
13 ans
so she has keen interest in finances and how these are managed, and we can tell already by la maîtrise du sujet. So it's very nice to have her.
Are you also going to be using a recruiting agency like we did with Robert?
I will leave that to Marie-Jacinthe for now. I know that they're going through their networks on all sides.
Nos contacts municipaux nous disent que présentement, travailler avec une agence de placement n'est pas particulièrement concluant. Donc, on a décidé de faire aller nos réseaux personnels, de faire des affichages standards et rapidement, si on n'a pas de résultats, on fera appel à des agences de chasseurs de tête. Là.
So to translate, their network is letting them know that the results through a headhunter's agency is not necessarily generating good quality or interesting candidates. So at this time, they're using their networks, and they have quite an elaborate network. And that, unfortunately, if that doesn't work through, then they will go to more specific headhunters. But for now, we're not going through headhunters.
Merci.
You're welcome.
Ron Aird,
Yes.
Hudson Heights. A simple question, before we submit our,
written comments?
Yeah, our written comment, does the town have a very clear, concise, and up-to-date map and plan of what the bylaw is going to entail? You have to excuse my lack of research.
No, it's all right. So on the town's website...
I found things very ambiguous. It needed to be clear and concise.
On the town's website, underneath that l'onglet, so the tab for updating the urban plan, you will find the same panels that were on the wall. The images are there, the bylaws are there, any earlier documents, if you're interested in digging a little bit further, are there. If you have any questions, I would think that you could still probably contact others, but the whole point of the 2 open doors was to ask questions. The same thing with the 31st of January. I'm sure that Darren will answer any questions you may have since you're District 6.
He's District 5, but I'll entertain.
Yes.
Where am I?
I always entertain any question.
You do. So, or you could ask me as well, and we'll walk you through the elements that are there. But also, if it's more of a technical question, we would direct you, or we would get for you the
I just want to eliminate the ambiguity of the 2 items from before.
Absolutely. Thank you. Are there any more questions online? There are none?
Sorry, just a quick follow-up to Helen's question. Aucun, that's Mr. Kincaid, right?
Correct.
He's well known in urban planning. But now, is this a mediation attempt? Have you talked with Lawler and Menard, the developers, about whether they're willing to accept this process?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
of course.
so you've already cleared the decks.
Yes.
Okay.
They've been waiting. Well, at least Lawler has been waiting for this for quite a while. He's been asking for this. Yeah. All right. Thank you. I will go back to this part.
No questions online?
I don't know if they have had difficulty putting their hands up because I haven't seen a single hand. Oh, here's one. Victoria was in the room, now she's at home. So Victoria, please go ahead. Please go ahead. Victoria.
Hi. I have been getting messages from fellow attendees online who are saying that they are not capable of raising their hand. So I'm not sure why, but I don't have a question. I just wanted to let you guys know that there are several people online who are trying to ask questions and cannot.
Well, then I'll suggest that they put up their hands now, and we will deal with them one by one. I still don't see any hands coming up. Oh, there was one and it disappeared. It said Lucy's iPad. So Lucy, if you... Chantal, est-ce qu'on voit? Oui?
Lucy is on.
Luke's iPad. Oh, Luke. I'm getting used to my glasses.
Je voulais juste tester que ça fonctionnait si on levait la main.
Est-ce que c'est
Désolé.
M. Dionne?
Oui, c'est ça.
Oui. Est-ce que vous aviez une question?
J'ai pas été... non, je suis content de la rencontre de ce soir. On a brassé plusieurs choses qui ont été dites la semaine dernière. Je suis heureux de voir que tout le monde semble vouloir travailler dans le même sens, là, de regarder les options et de bien travailler pour définir les nouvelles règles.
Merci.
Moi, j'ai complété le sondage. Ça prend quelques minutes seulement. J'encourage tout le monde à le faire.
Merci. It's absolutely critical that everybody engage. If we're staying back from this process until February 14th, it's really to make sure that as many of you speak up without us tainting your process. And also know that if we weren't genuine in looking for your comments, I don't think we would have gone to such an extensive process, and we will take the time that it takes to get it right. And this really matters to us. There will be other consultations on other elements. We're not done, but we need to find a process that we can rebuild trust. And right now, obviously, we see that that's a difficult, it's on travaille à rebrousse-poil, but we will get there, and it continues, in my case at least, and I think that my co-councillors feel the same. It continues to be an honor to serve this town. It's not an easy time right now, but we do have your best interest at our hearts. So thank you, everyone. I will close this meeting if there is no one else. Coming back to the last page. So section 12, adjournment of the meeting. I will need a mover. Reed Thompson, seconded by Doug Smith, that the meeting be adjourned at 8:51. Are there any objections? Thank you to this resolution.
I'm not going to make my joke tonight.
There are none. Ah oui, en français.
Merci. Alors, 12, levée de la séance proposée par Reed Thompson, appuyée par Douglas Smith, de lever l'Assemblée à 20h51.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you, everyone.